And we are live. We'll give everyone a chance here to arrive here. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me shift this chair around a little bit and we'll get this rolling. Thank you very much. I'm John Davies, and this is our live crypto talk each business day at 0900 Eastern Time. Pardon me. We'll get this rolling shortly. Let's kick this off right now. Why not? Welcome. My name is John Davies. Thank you very much for joining me live from beautiful London. Spring day. The sun is shining. The birds are singing. And this is, of course, for opening day of the final week, the final full week of Q1. And, of course, for Monday, March the 24th, 2025. And before we get this going, give everyone a chance here to arrive. Beautiful London. I've been here, and this isn't home. This is not home. Please don't let me confuse you on that. We've been here for approximately 4 months. And before we came here, I certainly had looked at many of the social media posts, and I think I best say this before we get this rolling. And I've read of all this violence and social unrest, racial tensions and whatnot on social media, and I certainly was quite concerned. It's all a freaking lie, okay? Now, maybe there are some poor areas, less than desirable areas in London, but it's real comfortable, okay? So now the London Chamber of Commerce, Tourism, whatever boards they have, clearly they don't travel, they don't see our cities. I don't have the stench of drugs outside. I don't have the problems of avoiding heroin addicts every single day. We don't have problems whatsoever. It's very comfortable. Matter of fact, over the weekend we saw some protesters. The protesters were even friendly sort of people. There's nothing that goes on. Don't believe all the hatred and nonsense that goes on social media. This is comfortable. If you're doing business and you have international travelers, I suggest you give thought to London. I'm not anything with the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism boards, but don't believe it. It's very comfortable. It's safe. And by the way, the food quality here is twice as good as ours back home and at least half the price. So it's kind of ridiculous. I just have to say this as we get a chance for everyone here to arrive. Okay, enough of that. Crypto talk for today. Points I wanted to make. We're into the third week of doing this. And remember, I want to make sure that I have a chance to teach everyone about decentralized finance. If you have questions, ask. I want to make sure that everyone in traditional finance understands this, or better yet, those accustomed to traditional finance understand decentralized finance, Web3. And I'm saying that for a variety of points. First of all, I've been working in for 42 years this May in traditional finance. I'm a risk management specialist. Many of you, part of my use of the term, but I wrote the book on options and what the big goal of options are for many of the largest firms back in the 1980s. I certainly had a major input and certainly a large influence on firms in developing risk management policies, including some of the largest firms in natural resources today who in the 1980s did not do a single thing with risk management. I was the one who introduced them to you. So why I'm telling you this, and yes, I spent my life in quantitative analysis, is the fact that traditional finance has been blind or deaf, whatever you want to use it, pardon my terms, to what's happening with Web3, decentralized finance. If you're not excited about traditional finance, you don't understand. If you're accustomed to traditional finance and you're not excited about what's happening with DeFi, Web3, then you clearly don't understand enough. Someone has made a error, and I don't know who it is. Maybe traditional finance has just been so old and protective. It's like an old cheese mold and they're too afraid of losing their space, or maybe crypto space hasn't really educated you in a proper manner that you can hear it. Whoever it might be, wherever the fault lay, you don't understand enough. In 2014, maybe after a few years, maybe around 2012, where I really started to look into this blockchain technology. I used to tell people how this thing called people getting excited or talking about Bitcoin. It wasn't all about Bitcoin. It's not all, and I mean that respectful. Of course, it's something bigger. It's the technology, blockchain technology. Of course, that is before we really were accustomed to what smart contracts were. We weren't really quite aware of the term. We hadn't even started using it there, if I recall, decentralized finance. And heck, Web3 was still years away from even that term being aware. Web3 2025, 2020. We haven't, we hadn't even touched upon those. So this is what you should be excited about. And in 2014, I could see what was happening, why I formed the very first. From what I understand, there's no really books of account records on this, but from what every person has told me, the very first Bitcoin crypto risk management desk. And that brings us our opening point today, because as I said, I wanted to really address issues today within my forecast on Bitcoin. I think it's very important for people to know, but it's more than, and again, it's more than just Bitcoin. Understand that if you have questions, ask. I'll make this into a virtual class. We'll have a lot of fun with it, and hopefully you'll learn and hopefully get excited or understand why you should be excited about the future of decentralized finance and Web3. But it is more than just Bitcoin. However, and this is a big point, so we'll get going on this. As I said, I wanted to go through Bitcoin, my price mode, I believe what's coming in it, my rationale on this, but the bigger thing is the coming boom to altcoins, which of course will be led by the genius of Sergey Nazarov's genius with Chainlink. And as I just said online, a person posted online, pardon me, I don't know their first name, Byte of Crypto, is that once you start looking at the collaborations, once you understand their business partners, Sergey Nazarov, who just might have actually been the person who wrote the actual white paper, there's a lot believe that, has carefully crafted Chainlink's business relationships in an absolutely brilliant manner. He didn't want to take the whole pie. He wants a bit of everything in essence. He's crafted this in an extraordinarily meticulous manner that will last lifetimes. It didn't come by chance. It didn't come by building business relationships over golf courses, but uniquely understanding Web3, the needs of it, and creating a masterpiece of a piece of technology. And that is why I tell people all roads, and if you look at it, however you want to phrase it, and how Chainlinks works, has developed these collaborations, business relationship, all roads go through Link. You don't own enough Link. It's just that simple. Now, when we're talking about Bitcoin, and I mentioned 2014, I started what was the first digital currency crypto risk management desk. Obviously, it wasn't so easy creating hedging vehicles, or you had to create a hedging vehicle, a proxy, if you will. It was not such a simple form of just putting on some future hedges and locking in some options, buying some protection, whatever it might be. No, it was far more complicated. But as I said last week when Chair Powell spoke, and I posted right afterwards, that modestly dovish commentary, you can interpret it how you will, but modestly dovish commentary, in my opinion, of Chair Powell, to me, it looked like the term was in place. If you go back to January 25th, based upon my analysis of late December, where my numbers with a 36% retracement suggested a pullback as much as 69,000 in Bitcoin. I said on January 25th, I believe that it's pulling back to 75,000, maybe to a lower probability of 70,000. Unfortunately, the urgency had been drained out of the sector. Absolutely. But when Chair Powell spoke, as I said, and in the days preceding, I was getting sort of ready. There's the turn. It looks like Bitcoin has found its base. It's just searching for this price discovery. It's found its base. It's not really the low vol on it starting to drop off. And we could see Bitcoin vol starting to drop off. The turn most likely had begun. Certainly, I wavered on that in our Friday discussion. I was questioning myself whether or not that was that I had been premature on that. But as the day unfurled on this, and we could see what was happening under the general market, say the S&P, the turn had begun, and certainly that looks very much like the case. Now, We're going to go through a quick little review here right now as of this moment. And let's just look at that over the last, I'm just going to go over the last hour. And we see Bitcoin now starting to, make a comfortable move. Bitcoin starting to make a good little move up. Pardon me. What do I have? About 87,000, 87,002 and a quarter, 87, call it two right now. So if we look at that in that regard, on this, it's certainly looking very comfortable per se. Looking very comfortable per se. Certainly, we're right now well above that support that we saw in the 82, 83. But I'm looking for this once again. Bitcoin, once it is based and firmly based to treble this year, I've got a target of approximately 240,000 within the fiscal year. Look at that approximately and give it a 10-month window. So we'll be getting really towards the end of January. Once this starts to make this move, that's what I believe, very comfortable with that. The firm confirmation of this, obviously, we have to be very aware whether or not this is just a false break. Do we get to 105 and then it retraces back down and then the battleground continues on? Certainly, that is the case and we have to. But I am less fretful of that at this moment, thinking more, in fact, that this has started its major move up and we're looking at this, looking at that advance. Again, once fully confirmed, I need that break, a weekly close. I want a weekly close. We'll call it Friday, a Friday weekly close above 105. That will get that confirmation that it's onward and upward towards that 240,000 target, effectively trebling from where my earlier prediction be. Now, of the altcoins, and don't get bothered by my inclusion here of different elements, but certainly I'm looking at these as making a major move. Now I've included a group of altcoins, and I'm not no puns here towards Ethereum, but I'm pushing. I'm not including obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum in that group, and I have a variety of them. Now these are all led, and if we are creating a pyramid, I'm going to let you decide on how you look at each one of them as valuations. But at the top of this is without question Link. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Whomever is listening, whatever position you have, you don't own enough Link. This is your base. And if you're looking at it, just consider it a pyramid. And oddly enough, the pyramid, it inverts. Okay, you don't own enough Link. It's that simple. All roads lead through Ink. But there are some extraordinary ones. And this I'm just going to go off by, let's say, in the last, let's run them, say, for instance, in the last 24 hours of movement. That makes it a little more comfortable for me. I would like to discuss with you very quickly in as fast a synopsis. I've made a few notes here on Aave and Hedera, HBAR. And hopefully I can get to that. It looks like it's going to be a little tight, but in my list of all coins, and they're in 10, the top 10 of different ones without question. And some of them are one in particular I have in there because it has tremendous business relationships, less of the product domestically, but more of its international relationships and certainly how it's positioning itself with political risk management. Yes, this is a big picture. Remember, don't take anything personal. This is about your money. Your money matters, and this is a generational opportunity. The whole thing is a generation. But in the last 24 hours, look for Avalanche, AVAX. It's up a little over 12.1%. Solana up 7.5%. Algo, without question, has an interesting road in this, 7%. Link, we've already mentioned Link. Do your own due diligence. There's lots of great data on. You can spend a lot of time on Link. Up 5.4%, obscenely undervalued. Sui, always like what they're, in the gaming frontier, want to know more of what they're doing and certainly how they relate to that sector. Ondo, the tokenization, they like to promote tokenization and real world assets. Obviously, I've been talking about that since 2014, when I would say over and over again, the big story is the tokenization of everything. Ondo, with a lot of good financing. BlackRock wants to position itself as Wall Street 2.0. Hedera, I've talked about that. Great Dallas firm. We'll go into that really quickly. H-bar, that's Hedera. Ave, another great talk about finance on that. Ave, that's moving 3.9%. Cardano, there'll be a lot of questions on certainly its speed, but whether or not the security item, but I think that has a good future on it, and certainly part of certainly this administration looks very favorable on that. We'll go into that real quickly. And last but not least, tremendous particular foreign external relationships in banking, and a tremendous relationship with the Oval Office with its CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, and that's XRP. That's my top 10, and you have to decide the weighting. Obviously, I don't think anyone could go past the notion of Link, but I want you to be fully aware there's other things. Now, I'm going to go into this real quickly, and I want to say why you're going to, because you have to lean into this. This administration, as I said, really pre the election results, but when the promises came out, but also at the election, it became very obvious. Lean into this. Don't fight it. Regardless of your political alliance, where you're domiciled, this administration is going to be very pro to it. And of course, you have to understand this, that the Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick is driving this. He's hammering this along with David Sachs. He already has a very significant personal holdings in Bitcoin and strategy, and certainly was very proud of the fact of how much money they raised in the selling of the gold cards. They're going to gold cards, a new vehicle, and what to sell the so-called green card of which is now costing $5 million. That neutral strategy that they're going to have, I believe what they're going to do is use that for to help the Bitcoin strategy on that, and will help facilitate this enormous purchase and run up of Bitcoin. And Bo Hines, the executive director of the President's Council on Digital Assets, was quoted in Forbes a number of rather dramatic points. Whether or not these are 100% accurate, and they come to volition with the administration, but in referencing Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis's Bitcoin Act of 2025, which advocates for approximately 5% of the total Bitcoin supply over 5 years. Pardon me. This obviously can be facilitated through the sale of Federal Reserve gold certificates. Mr. Hines noted that he wishes to purchase more Bitcoin, and again he referenced three areas that obviously we know are already held and respected by World Liberty Financial, that being Ethereum, Sol, ADA, and XRP. I believe that is certainly not the entire group, but I want you to go. This administration is going to lean into and driving crypto forward. It wants to make crypto, as much as I'm uncomfortable with the centralization of decentralization, but make America the capital of it. Lean into this. Now, one of the points that we have to do, and go on future one, I have to teach you how do you make use of options to improve your leveraging in what could be a very dramatic bull run, and we'll do that, showing you how to use options, but also how to limit your downside. So it is very much a positive, a very alpha grabbing situation, but with very, very limited, if any, downside and downside protection. There is some question whether or not gold reserves in the United States will be used, in essence, to help facilitate Bitcoin acquisition. I certainly believe that there is a combination of the two, as America looks to have a very major position on this and dramatically reduce, as it really revalues gold, dramatically reduce U.S. debt on that. Okay, so that's points. I also wanted to, and I've got these quick notes on this part of me. I'm going to go through this really quickly. I think 2 points that you have to really look at is, when we look at Hedera. And I wanted to mention Hedera and Aave. We'll go through Hedera first. Hedera, a great little firm out of Dallas, Texas. Of course, I'm biased to it as a Texas firm. I always tell people invest in tech. Pardon me, I'm looking at my notes. Decentralized enterprise, distributed ledger, DLT Pro platform, fast, secure, and scalable. Unlike obviously Ethereum, Bitcoin, Hedera, which was launched in 2019 by Lehman Baird, the individual who invented Hashgraph, and Mance Harmon, its governing council, Hedera Governing Council, and it makes use of a unique mechanism called Hashgraph, which recognizes the limitations of blockchains, and is much faster, has greater speed and lower energy consumption and greater scalability. HBAR powers the networks, facilitating transactions, and so it operates using a hashgraph algorithm and proof of stake. Okay. The big things on this is the key services, the Hedera token and consensus server, HCS, and its smart contract with its transactions. Last I have is 10,000 per second in a single shard. Okay, so that's an important point to note. And with Aave, now Aave is one of those that I really wanted to stress. One of the things that I really like about Aave is, in many ways, I guess you might call it the future of finance. It's the Aave protocol is decentralized DeFi platform. It helps facilitate borrowing and lending without intermediates, effectively, and it's on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's been expanded to Avalanche, Polygon, and a few others. It kicked off in peer-to-peer lending, launched by 2013 by, of course, Stanley Kulichov, and it works on lending and borrowing. Enthusiasts can deposit crypto into liquidity pools, earning interest. We can go on how you learn interest when you base on that. And borrowers may over collateralize his loan, meaning they deposit crypto greater from what they're worth. It protects lenders and allows liquidations. Interest it offers variable and stable rates. And one of the things that I think are most remarkable, and something that we really have to spend some time on, teaching people about flash loans, and it really is an enormous part of the Aave window. So we can go through that, and I think there are two areas that you want to spend more time on: Hedera and Aave. Take a good look at those, and as I said, we'll spend a little more time discussing on this, and I think it's very important for you to understand. Again, Aave, a tremendous non-custodial protocol, permissionless, tremendous vehicle on that. Okay, so that's where we have it right now for this week. We've got a bullish market, the general market, equity markets. I think this is going to lead up and help this northbound move get going in Bitcoin, and the entire altcoin space is going to trudge along and actually grow by a greater percentile right now. Be aware, we're looking for a close. We're still well off on that of 105,000 before we get that firm confirmation. We're onward to that trebling of 240,000 within the fiscal year. But again, all systems look very good right now. Lean into this situation. In future episodes, I want to look at options and futures, how each one of you with a minimal amount of capital can put yourselves into a position to participate in this enormous radical upward movement, but with significantly less capital involved, and obviously significantly less risk exposure. Okay, so I hope that's fine. Pardon me for taking too much of your time today. I know I went over, but these things happen. I hope that all makes sense. I'm trying to deal with this as straight, as open, off the cuff as possible. Now, if you have questions on certain things on DeFi, regardless of how basic they may seem, if you just want me to go through and explain the differences between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, and what is DeFi, go ahead and ask. We don't have to get in complexities. Remember this, and for those of you who are listening who are very knowledgeable about DeFi space, something very Something has been missing. The communication, and it's obvious because because every altcoin is undervalued. If you ask me right now, and I get this often, if you ask me right now with the valuation, I should put a valuation, the market cap of Chainlink. Let me tell you, I can go through every coin, all these major coins that I just discussed, and a few others, including ones you may or may not like. And some of those you may not like. They're all grotesquely undervalued. Chainlink is grotesquely undervalued right now. And to me, what that says is one thing: the message of why you should be excited about the future of Web3 and decentralized finance and these companies, has been missing in the conversation. So we have to bridge that gap. I'm here. I'll be 64 shortly. I want to teach those more custom traditional finance why you should be excited about this extraordinary frontier. It's not what you've been introduced. It's not the story of, say, for instance, other coins that seem like little children's games. This is a powerful, extraordinary advancement in society and can better the world. Okay? So, on that note, I'm going to let everyone go. I really have taken too much of your time. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm John Davies. Thank you very much for joining me for Crypto Talk. I should have started this years ago, but so be it. Good time to do it, anyways. Thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. And as always, 2025, I remind you, be the hunter, not the hunted. Thank you. Bye-bye.